to the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats Podcast. And this week's episode, I always say every week's episode is a very special episode, and every guest is very special, and everyone is very special. All my guests are special. I enjoy talking to everyone, and I learn so much from everyone. I hope that you all, as listeners, learn so much from everyone, which is why I say everyone's a special guest. So this week's special guest is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, a recent black belt, and the first black belt guest on this podcast. So it's a big business there. And a recent fight to win winner in flyweight. So I would like to welcome to Off the Mats, Alex Enriquez. Welcome, Alex. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Happy to finally get you on here. Converse Paige has always mentioned you to me, and I was just like, okay, well, I don't know, I didn't want to approach you, and then she was like, look, I'm just gonna put you guys together here, talk.
That's awesome. Thank you, Paige, and thank you for having me too. Very excited about this.
Absolutely, thank you for doing this. I know you got a busy schedule. Just again. Coming off a fight to win victory, you're getting ready for the ADCC trials. So you finding time in your schedule to do this for me, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. So just kind of jumping right into it with you coming off your big victory at fight to win. I guess you recently promoted to black belt. So congrats on that as well.
Thank you.
Was this your first fight to win, or have you been doing fight to wins before in the past?
So this was actually my second fight to win event ever. The first one I did was the last time they were in Atlanta. I forget around what month. I'm guessing it was in the summertime or so, but it was against Fabiana George. I was a black belt. I was a brown belt. She was a black belt, and I had a lot of fun. And so this was my first black belt debut match. And I was very glad that Seth was able to make it such a big performance, big event for me and for Atlanta as well.
That's good. I fight to win has come here to Baltimore quite a bit. And it's like whenever they get out here, my schedule's always messed up, so I can never get out to watch my team and cheer them on. So hopefully they can get back out here to Baltimore soon. And I'd like to be there in attendance and see the show. But for you, with getting prepped for the trials and then also having this, I guess that all the training kind of goes hand in hand at this point for that. So with you being a grappler, where did that start? Like, where did it come from for you? Was it just kind of I see that you wrestled. So was it just kind of like, I need an activity, or were you like actively like looking at wrestling, like, you know what, I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna jack these cats up?
Yeah. I actually was introduced to JiuJitsu by my older brother. His name is Kevin, and he's at my older half brother. He's about 11 years older than me. But when we were in the Philippines, we migrated from the Philippines when I was around 5 or 6. He at the time always was into fighting. He wanted to be a fighter. And eventually, by the summer of 6th grade, while we're here in Georgia, he got me. He introduced me into jiu-jitsu, and first day, and I loved it. It was amazing. And I kind of just kept going full time ever since then. I kind of never stopped being full time, but I mean, since I started when I was 11, I know a lot of people will like pick something up, kind of get busy and then come back later. But I was always, I think, full time, other than like injuries or like surgeries. But other than that, I was always training from like 5 to 7 days a week since I was 11. So I think that's what helped out a lot. And then got into wrestling for jiu-jitsu in high school and kind of continued with the both, some at times focusing on one, but always a full-time schedule for training.
Oh, so that's cool. I hardly ever really see jiu-jitsu first and wrestling. It's usually the other way
Mhm.
around, at least from my
Yeah.
experiences. So that's actually pretty
Mhm.
cool. I think that's almost more dangerous for
Yeah.
people going against you, because it's like, oh, we got this jiu-jitsu grappler here. We're not too worried about it. Okay, you got just your jiu-jitsu game, and then once they see, oh, wait a minute, this is a wrestler too. Anytime we have a new wrestler come into our gym, initially my ego kicks in. I'm like, man, I want to go with them. As soon as they grab my wrist, it's
Yeah.
like,
You're like, oh,
I,
I'm the sick guard.
yeah, exactly. Well, and then also my ego tells me, do not sit to guard.
Yeah, I was like, I can
Try
stand with you. It'll be
make
fine.
them earn this takedown.
Yeah, exactly.
So with you get ready for the trials for
Mhm.
ADCC, is this your first time for that, or have you? So this is your first for the trials.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what's that been like so far? Just kind of prepping for it.
So the first time this past East Coast trials was the first time I ever considered doing ADCC trials. I've always heard of ADCC, being a bit of course, being a big fan of it. It's like the Olympics for jiu-jitsu. But I guess it never just crossed my mind, and I focused a lot on gi in the past, and now I've been slowly making this transition into, no gi is blowing up, and so figured, this is another tournament, I have to do it. And so uh, when East Coast trials came around, unfortunately, we didn't have the biggest camp for it because we had just come off of Nogi Worlds camp. We were training really hard for about probably 10, 12 weeks, specifically in the IBJJF rule set for Nogi Worlds. I was able to capture the title for that, and that was my first world title ever. In gi and or no gi, it was my first title, a world title, and then after that, I had planned this camp, this vacation in Brazil, doing the Caioterra camp that just lined up right after Nogi Worlds and a week before ADCC trials. And I had already paid the deposit and everything. And I was like, I want to go to Brazil. I haven't been out of the country since I basically moved here from the Philippines. So it was an opportunity I didn't want to miss. So we were still training in Brazil. Caioterra had trainings every day, twice a day, and it would switch between gi and no gi. So, but it was more like seminars. We still had lots of roles, opportunities to roll, and it was an amazing trip. But of course, being that it was like a week away from ADCC East Coast trials, it wasn't probably the best plan. But it wasn't too bad. I ended up getting second. And so I realized, oh, wow, maybe I do have a shot at this. And as soon as I got my black belt in December, Professor Bruno Ferzato and I had sat down and talked, and he wants, like, my first year at black belt to be amazing because he really believes in me. Him and Professor Nathan Hadley, the Nogi coach, has been putting their like time and effort, everything into helping me succeed. I've been very thankful for that. And so we decided that we were going to focus on strictly Nogi for the first half of the season, trying to get ready for ADCC trials. If I want to win something this big, I need to put 100% of my focus into it rather than splitting my time between gi and no-gi. So this has been ever since like January 1st is when we started training again for it, and it's just been, the training's been intense. And so even with the last minute notice for Fight to Win in Atlanta, they actually got delayed a week, and we didn't know if they were going to have the event. So I ended up getting the match against Toledo in like a week or less notice. But we were already ready. We kind of stay prepared is the mission and goal for everything. So
It sounds like with your camp, you all have kind of a very organized like plan. And that's not to say others aren't organized, but this, like the point of, focusing strictly on no gi, for the
Yeah.
first half. That's interesting and a good ideal where many will kind of work between the two and
Mhm.
they're still doing well. But I like the
Yes.
ideal of that single focus, for the first half, and then you reevaluate and come back to gi afterwards. So good. With you being an active competitor and really pursuing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on a pro level, what drives you as far as like just your competitive edge?
I think honestly, it'll probably stem from the way my parents raised me. Them being immigrants, that I grew up watching them work super hard when we moved to the States. They both worked 2 to 3 jobs when we initially moved here. And it wasn't so like our life was really good. We were pretty affluent in the Philippines. We came from, good money, and then the whole, American dream. They wanted a better life for and better education for my brothers and I. So we trans when we migrated here. I mean, it was like kind of starting over, and it was, I watched them work really hard, and so I feel like they just instilled that, like, if you work really hard, you could get to everything that you want in life as long as you work for it. And it's not going to be easy, but it's just kind of worked out that way. So I mean, I feel like when I started jiu-jitsu at 11, like the very first day, I was like, oh man, I really love this. I didn't expect it to be like my career, but I just kept with it. And what else was I going to do when I was in like middle school and high school? So I would just go to the gym like as much as I can, and it became something that by the time I got to college, I finally decided, like, this, I want to pursue this. I want to pursue my dreams rather than getting a regular job. So, and I was super young, so I was like, why not go for it, go all in, like put all my chips into one bag just to try it. And then if it doesn't work out, I'm still probably gonna be in my mid late 20s. I could still do something else.
I mean, you said it right there though. It's like you're young. Why not go for it now?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
It-
exactly.
I mean, even if you're older, at times
Mhm.
it's like try it. I mean, I know at certain points there are different risks. I know for myself being, in my 40s, I could say to
Mhm.
myself, I want to pursue this, but then I also have to keep in mind, some, other factors, but it still doesn't hurt to just shoot for the
Yeah.
stars.
I mean, you only have one life, right? Might as
That is a
well
fact.
live a happy one. Yeah.
Yep. And you know, you never want to be at that point later on where you're like, well, what if? What if I would have
Yeah,
done this? What if I
exactly.
would have done that?
Mhm.
So good. Good. And also another key fact there too is, you graduated college. So it's like, what, you have that in your back pocket too. So
Mhm.
good.
Exactly.
What are some of the challenges? I know it's still kind of early on for you, pursuing, the pro career. What have been some of the challenges that you've encountered?
Um, Injuries, lots of injuries, especially most of my major injuries have come from wrestling. Uh, just because it's like a high impact sport. Not that jujitsu isn't, but in terms of you're always starting on your feet, just like landing forces and stuff like that. So injuries. Thankfully, financial wise has been it's been working its way out really well. I've been really thankful for that because of sponsors. The gym has always has helped us to make it so that we can be more full time. And my partner Faye Charrier, she's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, also a competitor, and so we've kind of just been working together to make ends meet, and so that we could live the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. you know. And when we travel, it's not anything bougie at all. When we travel, we would even stay at like gyms. She's stayed at a gym before, um, just so like you can compete. But that's like the jujitsu lifestyle, and it's so much fun, even if it's not for everyone.
I think that's a beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu though is, you have those tales and those adventures where it's like I feel like people on the outside looking in is like, what?
Mhm.
You
It's
sleeping at
crazy.
the gym?
Yeah, exactly.
Even, when you have, gym owners, as they're,
Mhm.
early on opening their, starting their gym up, it's like
For sure.
that's what they're sleeping on the mats, so
Mhm.
jiu-jitsu
Trying to make
is that sport though, where you it's a labor of love, for
yes,
sure.
for sure. Yes.
So with competing, because I see you got let's see here, Girls and Geese, Fight to Win, IBJJF, Subs on the Shore. You got the
Mhm.
trials coming up. Um,
Mhm.
Discounting, the trials right now out of everything because that's upcoming. But
Mhm.
everything that you've done thus far, what's one of your highlight moments that you're most proudest of?
Proudest of. Although, like, I mean, there's when we were coming back from COVID, when tournaments started opening up, they had like IBJJF gi pans and no gi pans, and I was able to double gold in those. But I think the actually I guess proudest is not necessarily the tournaments that I've like won, and it's mostly actually receiving my black belt at at the gym, and Professor Bruno Frazzato also allowed my older coach Steve Mitchell to retie my black belt around me, and that was like by far like the most amazing thing I've ever like experienced in my life. It's so rewarding after starting jiu-jitsu when I was 11, receiving all my belts from Steve Mitchell, and then making that switch as a brown belt when I was about to receive my black belt from Steve. But he understood that I wanted, if I wanted to pursue all this like very competitive jujitsu, that I needed, training partners, a lot of consistent, maybe younger, and competitive training partners, and he understood that. So, yeah, he gave me the blessing to switch over to Atos Atlanta under Bruno Frazzato, and it's just been so rewarding. Everything that I've been able to accomplish after the switch has just been, I feel like it's finally happening. All the losses back then, and I feel like all of the switching back from wrestling and jiu-jitsu has finally started to pay off. Because it was difficult. There was a lot of times where I feel like I could have won multiple world champs in the colored belt days, but it would just align. Either Nogi Worlds was during wrestling season, and then when Gi Worlds would come around, I would just be getting out of wrestling, and I'd be super rusty from doing wrestling to try to switch back and regain everything that I could in like a month or less to get ready for Gi Worlds. It was difficult, very difficult, but it's all kind of paying off now. I've been able to start winning more and more titles because of that wrestling, and that's why I did it in the first place. But also, I didn't want to miss out on an opportunity. And like, what if I never wrestled, or what if I wanted to be a collegiate athlete? It's just like the experiences too. So I didn't want to miss out on any experiences growing up too.
I like the your approach and your philosophy to things. It's just like there's an opportunity, take it, don't
Mhm.
miss it. So that's very just I feel like a lot of people can learn from that. So thanks for sharing that. So with you you graduated with a degree in exercise science and kinesiology.
Yes, correct, correct.
Okay.
Over at
Well,
Life University. Yes.
so like just I guess that all kind of intertwines with being a wrestler, being a
Mhm.
jiu-jitsu player. So that's good also, because you know your body, and you don't run into those scenarios where it's like, you're not understanding something. You have a pretty decent understanding of, your nutritional needs and physical needs when it comes to rest, and when to turn up the intensity for yourself. So that's good.
Mhm.
A good combination of things. Being the competitor that you are, and I know, jiu-jitsu and wrestling, that's there in your pocket. Have you ever thought about or considered MMA down the line?
Actually, yes, yes. Everyone's always asked me before. And when I was growing up, when I first started doing jiu-jitsu, I would always do kickboxing, a little bit of kickboxing and Muay Thai, and I actually had a lot of fun about it because I mean, being Filipino, especially on the stand-up part, boxing like Manny Pacquiao was,
Mhm.
part of your childhood growing up. So, boxing was definitely really big, and I had fun with it. I'm left-handed, so it made it even more, like, oh man, Pacquiao was southpaw too. So, um, but the goal right now is to focus and win a lot of things, and the black belt become a very well recognizable black belt, and make it, and then later down the road make that cross into MMA because I just didn't want to take a bunch of damage and hits doing through amateur instead of kind of doing what the big name jiu-jitsu people like Mackenzie Dern, Bushesha, among others that have or that have gone into MMA later in their career, so that they could get signed on with a really a really big promotion right away, and I think that's smart on their part. They're taking less damage on their bodies, and they're very well equipped on the ground, and they're just learning the stand up portion of it. But it's you're already getting rewarded for that rather than taking all this damage in amateur fights. So I think that's what I'm planning to do right now. So win a lot of stuff at black belt, and then later on down the road, possibly go into MMA for sure. At least like once. I've had like one amateur fight in Ohio, maybe a couple or a few years back. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And I ended up subbing the girl via armbar in like 30 seconds. As soon as I was like, I'm gonna stand up with you, and as soon as she threw a jab, and I slipped it, but it slightly grazed my head because we were still wearing like the 3 or 5 out the small gloves. We're wearing small gloves, and the moment I felt that, I was like, "Oh, I gotta take you down right away." It's just like the whole jujitsu kicked in, and I was like, "Oh, I was gonna stand up, and I totally forgot to." But
I think that's an automatic thing with grapplers. Period. It's like,
oh,
I,
for sure.
I, I want to stand up. I want to test my hands. I want to
Yeah.
test my striking, and
As
then
soon as you get hit, you're like, "Oh, let's go to the ground."
it's like, nope, don't like that.
Yeah.
Let's go where I'm comfortable.
Mhm.
That's good though. Just want to make that transition. Because it shows that you're not just saying, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to be the big fish in a small pond here in the jiu-jitsu world.
Yes.
If the time comes, it's like, you know what? Let's transition. Let's continue to grow. That's
Yes.
really, really awesome.
That's a really big thing for me, for sure. I've always prided myself upon like wanting to be wanting to be the best in the room, but also being humble and open to always learning new things. Like when I wrestled, I went from winning everything to in jiu-jitsu and getting my butt kicked every day in the wrestling room, and it's just like it sucked. It's so new at first not winning all the time, but it was so humbling and rewarding, and it's made my jiu-jitsu career now even uh, and journey even more rewarding and better because I feel like I can handle loss, I can handle adversity very well at even a younger age compared to maybe some others.
I think that's an important thing too, is understanding when you're going into anything different or new, coming off a, another area where you're doing well. You have to understand, look, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to take some bumps, I'm going to take some
Mhm.
losses. And I think that gets to people very early on. So
Mhm.
I know it messes with me. So
Yeah, it's difficult, and I feel like not a lot of people have, uh I don't know what the word is for it, but like to be able to swallow their pride and just be able to be the little fish again,
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's just thing. People were built different mentally, physically. Just the heart is different. For
Mhm,
some, they invite that challenge.
mhm,
Especially you grapplers that are on a heavy competition level. It's
mhm,
like it's almost in a way where you're looking at it from the outside, at least. It's like we look up to it,
mm, mm.
and but we also realize, you know, I don't know that I'm built for that,
Yeah.
because I just had a post recently from a previous guest, and she put up a reel of all her losses. Not all her losses, but some
Yes,
of her losses, and that's tough. To be able to
to
put,
show that to the public, yeah, yeah, for sure.
because we're such a society built on showing all the positives, and there's nothing wrong with that. You
Mhm,
definitely want to highlight your wins,
mhm,
but knowing that you all that are champions, you know you all weren't champions from in
yeah,
every walk. You had to take those bumps. So just having that understanding is amazing. And also for us listeners, it's good to hear, because it gives us kind of ideal. Now it's like, I have to swallow my pride. if
mhm,
if Alex here, as a black belt, as a champion, you know goes out there and knows that, look, I got to start from the bottom again in this new arena, and then fight through and climb through. you know Maybe I need to take that same lesson in
mhm,
humility, and do it as well. So
mhm,
again, thank you for sharing that. That's just your thoughts on that. So you've kind of gone through your jiu-jitsu and grappling career. Now you've gotten up to black belt. I know you work with Paige
mhm,
down
yes,
there in Atlanta, which is awesome. Like, I talk to my family, like, I want to go down to Atlanta. Like, why? It's like, where are we going to Atlanta for? I want to go grapple. I got friends down there. I want to do jujitsu.
yeah,
But anytime I plan a trip, it's
mhm.
for jujitsu. It's not for sightseeing.
Yeah, right, right, that's what traveling has been too, like, can make an excuse to go anywhere as long as, like, I'm gonna go do a tournament or just go do a seminar or whatever, and then go and then enjoy the rest of my vacation.
We've talked about possibly going to Sweden. And the
Oh,
only reason
yes.
that came up is because I have a friend over there that does jujitsu. And I'm like, yeah, we can go here. My
Let's
wife's like,
go. Yeah, this just sells the whole trip. Now
my
you
wife's
definitely
like, she's like, oh, that looks beautiful. I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing. We should go to this
yes.
exact spot.
Yeah, to this exact spot where there's a gym inside.
She's like, why are you packing your gi?
Just
You know,
just
you
in
never
case.
know.
You never know. Exactly.
It's like Spider-Man. He's like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. Can't leave without my super suit.
But yeah, with you know, working through your jiu-jitsu career, um, and specifically, working with Paige, is like, as far as coaching goes,
Mm.
um, how's that work for you? Are you like, kind of a full-on coach, or just kind of working here and there?
Well, I've been thankful because, I mean, if you want to be, if you want to make money from jujitsu, you can't just expect to, make your the bulk of your money or all your money from competing. If you want to have a life or career in jiu-jitsu, I definitely think you have to learn how to teach and be an instructor, amongst other things like being a business person and everything. But I was fortunate enough. I used to work. I still work part time as a server in a restaurant here in Atlanta. Um, but I've been able to, due to more and more privates, more and more regulars like Paige, been able to start transferring and work less and less at the restaurant and be more full time and teaching and being an instructor. And I absolutely love it. I started being able to teach classes when I was 16, like a kids program over at Knuckle Up. And since then, just acquired you know, lots of experience with teaching. And I really enjoy, if anything, I feel like being a coach is almost more rewarding at times than winning the competition yourself. I get more nervous for my students and my teammates sometimes, but than myself competing, and it's like it wears so much on the body because I feel like I get so stressed and anxious. But then and then whether they win or lose, it's like afterwards you don't get to work that anxiety out or the stress out because you weren't competing on the mat. So it's a lot. It's very tiring being a coach, but I love it. It's so rewarding, and I'm very thankful for all my like Atlanta natives and regulars that have been making it possible for me to live a more jujitsu, like a full time jujitsu lifestyle, and work less at the restaurant, and eventually make that transition into full time jujitsu.
Why is jiu-jitsu important to you?
Um, yeah, that's a good one. uh, I feel like it's become my life. I don't want it. I don't really want to be like just like Alex who does or Alex the jujitsu player. I do want to be like Alex who does jujitsu, but can also be identified with other things. And I feel like going through a lot of injuries will definitely, that's like a big thing I actually learned and studied through school, as well as like, and also with the wrestling community when I went to college, is that, you know, that identity crisis a lot of athletes go through when they get injured, and then they realize it's like, oh my god, my whole life has just been this sport, and then I don't know what I am without it or something. So I want to just like always, jujitsu is very important to me. It's I've found my, you know, best friends, my partner through jujitsu, and like people I would consider my family now because of jujitsu. And it's just taken me to places around the world, and great, the biggest highs and biggest lows, just because of everything that you experience as a competitor and through sports. So jiu-jitsu has just been a huge part of my life, especially as a kid, like 11 years. It's been like maybe 11, almost 12 years that I've been doing jiu-jitsu. So it has definitely shaped my life, and it's definitely a big factor into uh, who I am now as you know, a young adult, uh, and I'm thankful for it for sure.
Have you ever had the, especially with having so many years in jiu-jitsu period, have you ever had to utilize your grappling in an outside situation?
Yeah, actually, thankfully, no. If anything, I got into fights as like a kid. When I was before we moved to the states, I was in like I was in kindergarten or something. And in the Philippines, I was actually obese because of my mom uh fed me appetite pills as a kid, and she fed me too much and I blew up. I like literally was like a rolling, like a bowling ball on the street. And it was hilarious because she wanted a chunky baby. That was why. And so I ended up getting bullied in school for being fat, and so, and my bully was like um some first grade boy, so he was older than me, and I was in kindergarten. Kept calling me Piggy, and I didn't want to go to school anymore. Like after a while, and my mom was like, "Well, what's going on? Like, why don't you want to go to school?" And I told him I had a bully, and then she was like, I can't do anything about that. You have to go there and beat him up. And I was like, all right. Well, so where I got my fight. My mom has like the shortest temper and she will fight anyone. My dad has like patience. So I feel like I got his patience, but like my mom's like ability to fight and everything and just wanting to fight everyone definitely got it from her. And so I ended up beating up my bully. I'm just like, because I was much bigger than him. He was really skinny, and so maybe that's why. Maybe he was just jealous that I was eating like more like better food than him. I don't know. And so I like took him by the collars and like went like bam bam on him because I was that much bigger than him. So I feel like that was literally probably the only fight I had from like real fight, like not like in the streets. And I'm like, fortunately I haven't had to fight anyone on the streets, but like when I work on at the restaurant, my manager always assigns me to like try to break up any scenes and stuff, and I'm like, no man, I don't want to touch these like I don't want to. I'm very much a pacifist, which is crazy. I like try to avoid fights, and like because I'm like I don't know, like what if they like pull out a knife and stuff? Like jiu-jitsu is great, but I can't pull guard on on the streets and stuff. Like I'm probably just gonna grab a chair nearby and throw it at them. So see, this is why I avoided MMA for a long time. This is why I'm doing this route because I don't I don't have to get hit as much. But
I think a lot of the best grapplers or pacifists, they want to avoid the
yeah,
conflict and talk it down, So I always ask that question because I all the jokes, jiu-jitsu won't work in the streets and da 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 blase. And it's like, I mean,
there's
probably,
yeah,
but yeah, it's like you said, what if they pull out a weapon?
yeah, exactly.
Well, my cousins, they always say that. It's like, what if I have, a gun or something? It's like, well, if you don't have one,
I know. It's like, whoa, that's not part of the. That's cheating. I said.
yeah. So yeah, I always ask because it's like I just want to try to check the temperature of everybody's like experiences. It's like, have you had to do anything like restrain somebody or,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure everyone that I've asked the question to, well, a couple people have said like, no, I've jacked some people up. And it's like,
Yeah.
you probably should seek help, like some anger management.
Right?
Like,
Maybe you like beating up people on the streets a little too much.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that could have been talked down, dude. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? But yeah, I'm always just trying to check the temperature. Like, okay, what's your experience with this? Because my
Yeah.
experience, like, I don't mess around. I don't go out. I'm like, man, why don't you go out? Man, people want to fight. I want to fight.
Yeah, people want to fight all the time. I'm like, I don't want to fight. Like my mom's a hothead, but I'm not.
Yeah, yeah. I think myself, I used to be. I think just as time went on, I realized I don't really have any need to get angry.
Yeah, right. It just
So,
takes too much energy.
but now I see my daughter with that temper now. It's like shit.
She's like, where you got that? This guy bullying
Yeah.
me.
Which it's weird because like one of our neighbors is like the kid. They're good friends. They play together, but the kid, she doesn't know boundaries, so she gets my daughter's space, and my daughter does not. She hates it. And we tell her like just let her know that you don't like it. and you could see the wheels turn, and it's
She's like, "Whoa, this is that me?"
like, do not hit her.
It's fun in the face. I was like, "It's gonna happen."
One day, and I think both of them are the kind of kids that fighting is their first instinct, and it's like, hey. So I think most kids, for the
Yeah.
most part, it's like just that physical, but it's
Mhm.
like you got to be kind of coached or talked into or made to understand that, hey, use your words, which is when he's working preschool,
Mhm.
that's one of the lines we always say to the kids: use your words. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the thing with grapplers on the street. We use our words.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. For the
so
most part.
yeah, for the most part.
For the most part.
If you touch me, then it's going to be a
Then it's
different.
all, yep, yep.
It's like, okay, you gave me permission.
Exactly,
um
exactly. I didn't start it.
and that's especially important when the police report is written. It's like, hey,
Exactly, exactly.
I was sitting here drinking my Mountain Dew,
Yeah.
and this guy came over
Yeah.
and he said, I want all the smoke.
Exactly. He asked for it. Yeah, exactly. I was just responding.
Um, I gave him what he wanted. He asked for it. I'm a giver.
Yeah, exactly. Merry Christmas.
So, with your experience in grappling and coaching, uh, what's something that you would say is important for a first time or an early on grappler to know in a sport? What's some advice you would give them early on?
Um, if you're just being introduced to jiu-jitsu, I'd say just have a very open mind, and be open to learning and everything. I feel like when you first start jiu-jitsu, it's like a tsunami of information coming at you, and everyone uh, gets it differently. So don't worry about everybody else, or like the other white belt that maybe have started at the same time as you. Like, don't worry about the other people's progress. You just focus on your own, and that'll lead to a more happy experience for you, and as well as be aware of the gyms that you go to, and you know don't be afraid to try out other gyms, cross train, kind of like when you're first first moving to a new area or something, looking for a new jujitsu gym. I'd say not like just sign up at the first gym you find. Like, go out there and see what the right fit is for you. Find your perfect pair of jeans, I guess. So you can see all the different kind of cultures and stuff, and see whatever fits you the best.
With ADCC upcoming, when is that set for the trials?
The West Coast Trials is April 2nd and 3rd in Vegas, I believe. Yes.
Okay, all right. Over the years, with so much jiu-jitsu and wrestling in your life, did you run into any kind of a burnout during that time? And then
Oh,
kind of the follow-up to that is, with the ADCC trials, coming up in April, what's your kind of training split looking like in times of rest and break times?
oh, for sure. That was a big thing, a big learning curve, of course. Just being full time all the time, especially when I was like younger, I could just go train however much I want and not have to worry about my body. But as I got older, got through injuries, I got much better at active recovery, especially going through school, learning about my body and how to cut weight properly, how my body responds, different diets, nutrition. Um, right now, I have our and especially after big tournaments, our Bruno would always be very set on, okay, you're gonna take a week off at the gym, because even if you're fine, like, he wants you to have rest. He wants you to not be to be not just physical rest, but mental, emotional rest, and health, so that you're happy when you're training. And I really like that approach that he's done. So that's why, like, the whole, like, I think December, right after D Worlds, he just like had us rest for like 2-3 weeks. And he's like, don't really just do things that, so that you're having fun. And so you're not, when we come back, it's going to be hard training because from January to April, it's just going to be miserable. But, it's all part of it. And after competing a lot this past year, ever since like tournaments started back up, I've definitely like towards the end of last year, I was getting burned out from all the competitions back to back. And so my schedule now, and for ADCC, we've kind of worked, we talked about going back to wrestling, to put wrestling back into the mix because ADCC is very big on the feet. And so there's a lot of things that, I was doing. The schedule I kind of have right now is I teach Monday mornings at 6 a.m. I end up having like 9 a.m. drills, like just technique drills. And then I'll probably go lift Monday mid or late morning or early afternoon. I'll come back to the gym later that evening, teach the kids class, and then train jiu-jitsu. And it's all no-gi training that night. Tuesdays are usually I train in the morning, and then I have wrestling in the afternoon, and then train at night. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are actually the same, and those are kind of like my big kind of a lot of volume days. But I'll kind of switch it around. I don't have to do every training session, doesn't have to be live. I try to be smart about my training so I'm not doing too much damage. Wednesdays are traditionally my off days. I still teach the 6 a.m. morning classes. I teach 6 a.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I'll have some privates right after the 6 a.m. and then teach again at night for the kids, but usually take the night off. So it's just working jiu-jitsu work. So I'm still moving my body, and I'll probably do some active recovery that day, whether it be get a massage, dry needling, chiropractor, going out for walks, simple active recovery stuff to help prime my body for the rest of the week. Thursday was, train in the morning, wrestling in the afternoon, and then train at night. Friday is 6 a.m.s. Then I'll usually have a private before 9 a.m. drills, and then and then competition training again Friday morning. And then I usually I'll have a private that afternoon, and then that's usually Fridays are usually when I go to work at the restaurant at night. So I usually come into work 4 p.m. to close, and then Saturday morning I have 10 a.m. the kids class, and then 11:30 training, and then I'll have privates. But I'm really glad I have the weekends off from the restaurant, the whole weekend. So I have Saturdays off from the restaurant to either just teach more privates and relax, have more fun, do some active recovery. Sundays I usually lift. So lifting is so I usually lift anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week. So usually Monday, Wednesday, Sundays are kind of the lifting days. And I lift with Monique Travis. She's been in charge of my strength and conditioning since I was 14. And I've just been able to see so much growth, and I learn a lot. And that's in terms of just technique, and it's almost really fun. It's like learning a whole new sport, kind of getting into the whole CrossFit thing. It's not like all our workouts are CrossFit related, but I'm learning a lot about lifting, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So instead of being like a personal trainer, so to speak, I probably am going to get my CrossFit level 1 certification, because I really enjoyed what I learned from Mo, and it is just helping me become a better athlete overall, knowing more about the proper ways to lift and everything, and what this does for your body. So Sundays are usually my lift days, teach, and then kind of I sit down, I program for the next week what we're going to be learning in class, and meal prep for the week. So lots of cooking cooking on Sundays. Uh, but yeah, that's usually what my traditional week looks like. And it's just like rinse and repeat. Um, and so, but Bruno's always very big on if your body's not feeling right, maybe do less a day. We'll adjust, we'll tweak the schedule, whatever need be, whether I just come in to just do technique or just take a rest day and do some active recovery. But rest days are never just like not do anything and sit on the couch, because that, I feel like it does more harm for you. Just like go out for a walk, or go do some yoga, foam roll, do whatever, so that moving my body always feels better than not.
For sure. Yeah, that point that you made there about you know just sitting on the couch for rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is damaging because I know for myself prior to jiu-jitsu, I was just heavy into lifting weights and just always basketball, football, lifting weights, running, all these things.
Hmm.
There was never the thought in my mind, I'm going to treat myself by sitting on the couch today. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's like I think as I got older, and I'm doing jujitsu and I'm getting banged up there, I kind of start to slip away. Well, I definitely slipped away from football and basketball, just schedule
Mm.
wise. I couldn't get to the courts and football. I mean, look, I started jujitsu at 37. So,
Mm. Yeah.
doing football after that, it was like, nah, buddy. Tom Brady just retired.
That's,
So,
yeah, that's tough. That's a lot of impact.
yeah, it's like I'm no Tom Brady. So, um, but yeah, like when you find those moments where you're like, look, I'm just going to sit here on the couch and treat myself, and just kind of rest and take a break. It's more damaging. And I fall into those poor habits of, what's the worst that can happen? I'm just going to sit down and rest. I'm recovering, and then next thing you know, you, you can get too comfortable with it, or you stiffen up. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
it can get pretty gross.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, one question I want to ask also, just with being an active competitor and, you know, having seen the matches that you've seen, do you have any, if there's like a dream scenario, anyone that you could pick to say, I want to, compete against this person, male or female?
Well, yeah.
Doesn't matter, or alien. I don't know. The Earth is a wild place. I don't know. We might have aliens out here. Like there's some
Yeah,
grapplers that I
I
question.
feel like they could definitely be real. We're like a small speck in the universe. I feel like there's got to be something else out there.
We're not the only ones, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're definitely not the only ones. Uh,
Um,
but I think competition wise, like my dream scenario, I've idolized like Bianca Basillo in my head. She was one of like the people, one of the biggest athletes I've looked up to. Um, they also has a dog named after Bia, so we do have a dog named Bia, which is even funnier. But uh, she's to me, she's like the featherweight world champ, and she's the ADCC world champ. So I feel like she's the one to beat when it comes down to it. And I think dream scenario would be probably facing her in the finals of ADCC and winning. Via submission would be the most amazing, like cherry on the top. But just winning is winning against her or whoever at ADCC finals. First thing is like making ADCC this year, so that would be a dream. So getting the spot for ADCC is the first goal, and then after that, it's winning it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm optimistic in your progress going to the trials and actually making it. So I'm looking forward to it. So we'll go ahead and get ready to wrap up here. But Alex, thank you for doing this. Thank you for making the time for this. This has been an
No,
amazing experience.
no, thank you for having me. Had a lot of fun with this, and I'm thankful that Paige connected us to make this
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Like I said, she's mentioned you to me, and I'm just like, it's weird because I do a podcast. I should be better about approaching people. I'm like, I'll approach them. I'm like, but what if they say no?
Oh,
Uh,
nobody's ever gonna say no.
it's funny. I've sent messages to people, and I see that they've seen it. It's like
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh no, how could you? Come on, I'm a podcast, man.
it's
It's
like
all
you could at least say no, and then
yeah,
there are people who say yes, and I'm they're like unexpectedly. I'm like, oh my god,
yeah,
like,
right.
like I've asked two people specifically, and they said
Mm.
yes, and I was like, I expected a no, so I didn't really have a plan. So
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I didn't think we are gonna get this far, you know. That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, it's like putting yourself out there. I wasn't sure how ADCC East Coast Trials was gonna go, but it went a lot better than expected. So
I mean, I guess it's the optimism. You got to always say optimistic. I
yeah.
always say expect the best, prepare for the worst in all
Hmm.
situations.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Alex, let everybody know where they can find you on social media and any other shout outs that you may have.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at a Enriquez 218. That's my Instagram handle. And I also just put up my website for my brand. Atlanta Jiu Jitsu has become my official brand for private seminars. You'll find all my information for contacting me, the services I provide. And I just opened up a shop, so I'm selling stickers right now. Eventually, I'll get more products out. So I'm excited for all of that happening, and I'd like to thank, of course, all my sponsors. I have Break New Ground and Ever Legendary. I both have codes for that. They're codes Alex Enriquez at checkout for both of those brands, as well as A&W Contracting and Primal Content. Um, uh, Super thankful for all my sponsors for always supporting me, making all the traveling and everything possible. And also thank Paige, who's on Instagram at BJJ Mama, for making this connection happen. I had a lot of fun on this podcast, and hope to be back sometime in the future for sure.
Absolutely. Look, I had a great time. You're always welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Actually, want to talk to you after we're done recording. Uh,
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Oh, sweet. I'm
Um,
excited.
and
And
for everyone listening, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yes, and I was like, you have a beer podcast. I love beer, so that'd be an amazing thing to be on.
I'll send you the link for it. It's it wasn't meant to be a beer review podcast. It was meant to be just two
Ah,
guys, just kind of we were like, hey, you want to do a podcast?
yeah.
Yeah, let's do a podcast. And then we were drinking beer one night. It was like, hey, what would you rate this beer?
Yes, I love
And
it. See, that's how great beginnings start on accident.
yeah, I mean, we like, yeah, it was an adventure. So I'll send you the link for it though.
Yes.
It's a very unique episodic podcast that we don't ever know what we're going to talk about until we sit down, and then it's like it's just two guys talking like what would two friends talk about at happy hour. That's really
Yeah,
what it
I love
is.
it. I
So
love it. Love it. Look
um
forward.
but for all the listeners out there, thank you as always for supporting the podcast and listening. I do appreciate you all. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out. I'm I'm a approachable person. Often as podcasts on Instagram, bjj.wiki on Instagram, either or. I always reply. Um, Also, big shout out to my good friends over at Armbar Attic, Eric and Ali. They are doing amazing things on Instagram and TikTok. They have the website up with some great gear. I have a rash guard that's en route to me right now. Actually, by the time this comes out, I probably will have the rash guard. I'm recording this a couple weeks earlier, so um, hopefully by the time this comes out, I have the rash guard and pictures will be up. But I'm excited about it. So go check them out at armbaraddict.com and also same name on Instagram and TikTok. Also, big shout out and check out my other podcast that we're just referencing here, Colompton Social Club. It is a beer review podcast. It actually just, like I said, start off as two friends talking trash, and here we are. Like beer companies follow us, so we're like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. We're reviewing beers. We were just wanted to talk about basketball. So, and also check out my newest podcast, So You Like Horror. It's a horror movie podcast, and it's done twice per month, covering such themes as zombies, um, splatter films such as Saw, Scream, the franchise, the Alien franchise, things like that. So, we dive deep into these topics and have a lot of fun with it. So, if you're into horror movies, go check that out as well. Otherwise, again, thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate all the support. You guys keep listening, and I'll keep making the show. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Deeper with it. Now let me sing a song.